I'm just not really sure what that would have to do with us categorizing based on tattoos and face art and things like even like here, I'll give you an example, even for men. If men have face tattoos, right? Okay. Generally, that's a red flag for other men to stay away from them. They're like,
don't trust them.
There's probably something wrong with you. We're going to stay clear. You're in a gang or something like that. So even for other men, that would be a red flag. And generally speaking, they'd probably be right. They'd probably be like, okay, well, wait, guy who has tribal face tattoo, probably staying away from you is a good idea, and they would probably be correct.
Andrew Wilson goes off on tattooed women about tattoos and preferences in this debate. As Andrew Wilson and Brian Atlas debate the panel about preferences, this tattooed woman claims that it's art and it has a deeper meaning about a person, and Andrew Wilson obliterates her entire views on tattoos. Let's get in.
I feel like everyone definitely is going to have their own opinion about this, but in my personal opinion, I see tattoos as art. People make those, they draw them, you put them on your body, and I feel like they represent you. I feel like a sleeve isn't trashy. Also, tattoos are expensive. I don't think it's trashy to have a full piece. In my personal opinion, I think it's awesome, but I also am biased. I do have a lot of tattoos. Everyone in my family has tattoos. Everyone that I hang out with has tattoos, so.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, in the adult film industry, a lot of us, if our stuff didn't sell to men, like, some of us, not everybody, but, like, some of the adult industry, we, like, let's say you're a girl performer, you're trying to sell to men. So, like I know girls that have tattoos, they get them removed, or they even tell us, the agents tell us not to get tattoos, or we won't get work. And they also just tell us, not to get face piercings or we won't get work. And then, they basically kind of tell us what to do.
It's really interesting. I can tie something together for you real quick that might surprise you. So when women unalive themselves, when they do that, they almost never do it with anything regarding the face. So even if they use like a boom boom stick, right? I'm sorry, I have to use YouTube language for this. They'll actually do it in the chest, right? They'll actually, chest, things like this. They actually will almost rarely do they do anything with their face. And the reason is because they want the presentation, at their funeral to be a certain way. They want people to remember them a certain way. They want to be presented a certain way. And this actually correlates with body art the exact same way, right? Women generally don't want their faces tatted up. They don't want that because they think that there's an expression there that other people see that they don't like, right? There's something which is ingratiated there that they don't like. So I think it is true that men associate this, rightly so, because they would associate it with like way more outgoing, way more social, this and that. And if you're way more outgoing, way more social, generally they would associate that with promiscuity. And so I think that that's why that stereotype exists, and I think it's a rightful stereotype, to be honest with you.
Do you think that preferences have hindered modern dating? So, like, for example, I guess, like, writing someone off over what I would argue are these superficial attributes that don't necessarily contribute to their character always. Sometimes they do, I know, whatever. But don't always contribute to their character is causing people to not partner up as much and things like that.
Look, I don't disagree with you. If what you're getting at is like, you can be a completely head-to-toe tattoo-covered woman and have a heart of gold and follow every form of Christian ethics ever and, keep your chastity intact and have tons of virtue. I'm not disputing that there's some women who could do this. What I am disputing is that most women who would do this are not that. And so because of that, we're, as pattern recognition machines, that's what human beings are. We generally associate behavior and patterns, right? That's what you were trained to do as a psychiatrist, right? You're literally diagnosing people based on behavioral patterns. That's the only way you can do it. So if that's the case, what you're doing is you're categorizing behavioral patterns in order to make a diagnosis, but everybody does this all day long. We categorize behavioral patterns in people, and if we see that most of the time women who have tattoos are skanks, right, then we generally tend to stay away from skanks, right? That is a stereotype, I agree, and you may think it's unfair, but we don't categorize it that way for no reason.
But do you think it's helpful to like immediately dismiss them? And I'll use this in the context of dating apps. So for example, on a dating app, if someone has a tattoo, you're like, okay, no, I'm not even going to engage. Whereas before, there was a lot more third spaces, or people just like met at work and stuff like that. Like, you might not know the girl you had a crush on had a tattoo on her back, but you liked her, so you went out with her, and then you find that out later, and it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, the thing is like, no, I do think it's actually helpful to dismiss immediately based on, that's why the pattern's there. So the whole thing is you're recognizing patterns of behavior, you're dismissing people immediately based on those patterns. It's a way for you to keep yourself protected, right? That's, I mean, every human being on planet Earth does this. So I do think it is actually very helpful to be like, oh, that chick has a tribal face tattoo. Next, right? I think that's perfectly reasonable.
You have something?
I just don't agree. I don't really have anything to add on to it. I mean, we could say this about men as well. We're specifically talking about women here. I mean, but we have a tatted up Christian man, virgin, who's right here. I don't think that.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm not saying that in a bad way at all. Congrats. I'm just saying that, like, I think you can't say specifically women. If you're like, oh, they're like this, tattoos are like this, and why is it not correlated with both?
I think we can, and here's how I can make the argument, and I think it actually makes sense. So I think the characteristic of a man being very outgoing, being very charismatic, means that he may be promiscuous, but it's not really a sure thing. It's not really something which would just categorize him as being instantly in the domain of he's going to sleep around. For one thing, they always have way less options than women, no matter what anyway. With women, though, the categorization, I think, is much easier. When women are more outgoing, they tend to be more promiscuous than when they're reserved. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, so, but if it's easier for women to sleep with someone, then wouldn't the men be the skanks because the men are there lined up, not the women? It's harder for a man to sleep with a woman. He can go up to a chick and ask her 50 times, but like as soon as like, am I making sense? I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought.
No, I get what you're saying.
No,
it makes sense.
Sorry, I kind of lost it, but yeah, I got confused.
No, I think I understand.
Sorry.
I think I understand what you're saying. I'm just not really sure what that would have to do with us categorizing based on tattoos and face art and things like even like here, I'll give you an example, even for men. If men have face tattoos, right? Generally, that's a red flag for other men to stay away from them. They're like,
don't trust them.
There's probably something wrong with you. We're going to stay clear. You're in a gang or something like that. So even for other men, that would be a red flag. And generally speaking, they'd probably be right. They'd probably be like, okay, well, wait, guy who has tribal face tattoo, probably staying away from you is a good idea, and they would probably be correct.
Okay, question for Andrew. Should women give bald men a chance then if their preference is non-bald men?
Wait, hold on.
Well, I don't know what that would have to do with it.
That's how I date.
He can fix that. So, like, that's the same thing with tattoos. Like, that's not really that important of a trait, I guess.
Wait, hold on.
Well, what does the man being bald tell you about him, though? That's the distinct. So what we're talking about
I don't care about having children, but if you did, poor
What we're
genetic
talking
makeup.
about is a pattern.
Being bald isn't always a
which-
choice.
A pattern which shows behavior. So women who are highly tatted up, they're probably outgoing, right? They're probably way more open with people, and so likely they're more promiscuous. There's like a good likelihood that that's true. So this is an inference that men make, and I think generally it's true. It's not always true, but it's true enough. What does a man being bald tell you about his behavior, though? Nothing. It doesn't tell you anything.
It tells you that he has bad
genes. That's all the type of guy that hits on me.
It
Tells you he's good at fishing.
Oh,
and he's
calm
sexy.
down. I'm almost done.
It's like stupidity is a must for a woman's brain. Like, what the hell is that comparison? Tattoos and balding? What the hell is that even supposed to prove? Andrew Wilson is just as shocked. Like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? I guess we'll find out. Let's continue.
Let me
All
spur.
you're saying is that based on my preference for attraction, should I date men I'm not attracted to? And it's like, no, but I don't know what that has to do with anything we're talking about.
You're saying that tattoos show either like a mental instability. So if I, as a woman, see a bald man, that tells me like bad genes. So like that's the
They say
correlation.
that-
But hold on just a sec.
Because you can fix that
You're
with
literally
Rogaine.
proving our point because your original argument was, whoa, it's really bad like how superficial men are, because we were talking about like how we're going to disqualify women based on choices that they make, but women constantly zero men out and will not date men based off of like things totally out of their control. You mentioned superficial. Oh, it's so superficial for a guy to not want to date a woman because she has tattoos. Women are like, if you think men are superficial, women take superficiality to the fucking extreme.
Yes, I understand.
Hold on. Because you guys won't date a guy who's shorter than you. You guys won't date a guy who's a certain height. You won't date a guy who's balding. So by you bringing up this whole like, oh, well, what about the balding thing? Are you trying to argue that women like have a preference towards bald men despite like full head of hair being more attractive? No, women prefer to date men who have a full head of hair. Women prefer to date men who are tall. Women prefer to date men who are above average in the bulge. Women disqualify. Women will 100% disqualify a great guy if he's not a certain height, if he doesn't have a full head of hair, if he's below average in the bulge, whatever it is. And all those things I listed are completely out of men's control, whereas the things we're talking about right now when it comes to tattoos, plastic surgery, that's choices y'all make.
I agree, and I think more women should give more men with those traits a chance.
They don't, though.
They don't, but they should.
Don't.
But that's what I'm saying.
Well, who cares about should? Who cares about should?
Okay, but
they
why,
don't.
Why don't they? Because most people
they're superficial. How about that?
Yes, most people are engaging on dating apps and just swiping.
Oh, you think you think height is only a dating app thing?
I think it depends on the age. Like if you're probably 18 to 24, yes.
Women's preference for tall men persists their entire life. What are you talking about?
But women over the age of 24, 25 that aren't typically on dating apps as much, you typically see them with a more wide range of looks, I guess. Or they're not as dismissive of explicit traits because you're more likely to meet someone in real life and things like that.
I'll give you this. So I think women, as they get older, do tend to deprioritize a little bit physical appearance in men. Other things start to become a bit more important. Status, money, personality. So yeah, sure, when women are younger, yeah, they're gonna prioritize like, is this guy hot? Is this guy attractive?
But if you look at most people in like married or coupled relationships, the guy's not 6 foot and jacked and the woman doesn't look like Kim Kardashian. So that's what I'm saying is like.
That doesn't prevent a large amount of women from having like a really strong preference for tall men.
Yeah, I mean, they have that preference, but I think when they give those other men a chance, they're surprised.
Also, men on average are taller than women. So yeah, it's no surprise that, yeah, most relationships you're going to see like an average height woman, average height guy. Like,
I don't think most women explicitly care about 6 foot though. I think they'd be perfectly fine with like 5'8", 5'9". I mean, you say that, but if you really met, or even 5'7", whatever.
The men most cheat on me doesn't have any tattoo.
Hold on. Put your mic back where it is. One thing with the microphones, guys, we've already placed them where they need to be. Don't move them. Put it back. So you mentioned like, but on the dating apps, but the studies show the majority of people meet on dating apps. They meet online. So like,
certain age
I don't do dating apps.
Even people in their late 20s and 30s, the majority of people are still In fact, I almost think that dating apps, like, it's super easy to meet people in college. Once you're out of college, 21, 22, then maybe you got work, but it's kind of frowned upon to like be dating people at work. I actually think there's a greater likelihood that people who are in their late 20s or 30s are going to have to rely on social media and dating apps because your social circle shrinks. You don't have college. You're not like in college. It's so easy to meet people.
Okay, do we have a fact checker? Because I'm curious.
Wait, so just to be clear, true. Wait, do you think? Wait.
According to recent studies, most people today meet their romantic partners online through dating apps and websites, making online dating the most prevalent way couples connect in the current era. The trend is particularly prominent among heterosexuals. Would you like the study links? This comes in from Pew Research, the findings from them. Yes. This also comes in the Focus for Family. They did a study on this.
Brian is absolutely right. Women's preferences are so out of touch with reality, they don't have a clue on how hard that reality will smack them in their faces when they are in their 40s, and they figure all this out very, very late. Also, it is completely unattractive to date women with tattoos because of exactly what Andrew Wilson stated earlier, that they are likely to be promiscuous, which is a red flag in dating. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, comment down below, share your thoughts. We'll catch you on the next one.